You may have seen this photo before. It is iconic and always surfaces around this time on social media. It originates from the archives of Yad Vashem, but only recently did its true story come to light via one Yehuda Mansbach. It was the 8th night of Hanukkah in Kiel, Germany, a small town with a Jewish population of 500. That year, 1931, the last night of Hanukkah fell on Friday evening, and Rabbi Akiva Baruch Posner, spiritual leader of the town, was hurrying to light the menorah before Shabbat set in. Directly across the Posner's home stood the Nazi headquarters in Kiel, displaying the dreaded Nazi party flag in the cold December night. With the 8 lights of Hanukkah glowing brightly in her window, Rabbi Posner's wife Rachel snapped a photo of her menorah and captured the Nazi building and flag in the background. She wrote a few lines in German on the back of the photo. Hanukkah 5692. Judea dies, thus says the banner. Judea will live forever, thus responds the lights. That image, freezing in time, a notorious piece of the past, has grown to become an iconic part of history for the Jewish community. As Mansbach recalls, my grandfather, the rabbi of the Kiel community, was making many speeches both to Jews and Germans. To the Germans he warned that the road they were embarking on was not good for Jews or Germans, and to the Jews he warned that something terrible was brewing, and they would do well to leave Germany. My grandfather fled Germany in 1933 and moved to Israel, he said. His community came to the train station to see him off, and before departed he urged his people to flee Germany while there's still time. The couple's presence saved an entire community. 8 of its 500 Jews perished in the Holocaust, with the rest fleeing before the systematic slaughter began. That, friends, is the enduring message of the Hanukkah lights. In case you ever wondered why we light our menorahs in windows or outside, or indeed the big Chabad one in public places, it is because of the bigger message it conveys. Consider this obvious question. The miracle of Hanukkah was essentially the victory of a small band of men, the Hasmoneans, over an oppressive regime, the Greek army. Yet we largely ignore that detail apart from some reference in our prayers and focus entirely on the subsequent miracle of the oil of the temple menorah lasting for 8 days. All of our celebration is focused on that detail, whether by lighting our own menorahs or replicating the oil in our donuts and latkes. Why? The answer allows us to appreciate the essential ingredient that has defined 4,000 years of Jewish history. The military victory was extraordinary, but it didn't last. The dynasty of the Hasmonean family became entrenched in civil war and corruption. 210 years after Hanukkah in 68 of the Common Era, the temple was destroyed, this time by the Romans. Jerusalem was plundered, Israel was decimated, and the Jewish people exiled. It was the beginning of a period of Jewish powerlessness, dispersion, and persecution. But even as the political and military victory of Hanukkah did not last, the spiritual miracle, the faith, like the oil, was and remains inextinguishable. Strength that is founded on military power alone is temporary. It may endure for long periods of time, but ultimately its might will wane, and it will be defeated by another power. Strength that is founded on moral and spiritual light can never be destroyed. So yes, the military victory was an enormously significant event that we must be deeply grateful for. But what makes Hanukkah a vibrant and heart-stirring holiday thousands of years later across the globe is the story of a little cruse of oil that would not cease to cast its brightness even in the darkest of nights and among the mightiest of winds. Imperial Greece and Rome have long since disappeared, because civilizations built on power never last. Those built on care for the powerless never die. What matters in the long run is not simply political, military, or economic strength, but how we light the flame of the human spirit. The candles were right. Judaism lives. Both the menorah and the photo survived World War II. Today, Yehuda Mansbach lives in Haifa, Israel with his family, and each Hanukkah Yad Vashem returns the now famous menorah to the family, who light the candles for 8 nights before returning the piece of history back to the museum. Indeed, through whatever pogroms, inquisitions from communist Russia and Nazi Germany, for more than 2 millennia, Jews have been gathering around their Hanukkah candelabras, kindling each night an additional candle. And as we gaze at the dancing flame atop the menorahs, we can hear the candles sharing their story. It consists of a simple punchline. Judea dies, Thus says the banner. Judea will live forever. Thus responds the light. Happy Hanukkah.